Okay, I was actually checking what cost centers have been made and what have been uh, entered in uh, actual cost reposting. So pretty simple. We have already entered uh, cost repost through KSW1, and the profit center that we have used is P01, which has multiple cost centers reporting to it. Okay. Now we have already reposted that. We have zero balance. So everything from dummy has been posted to P01. Okay. You can arrange it as well, and it will show you what has been reposted through this document. And you can, of course, change the uh, layout as well. Okay. Moving forward, now let's go back and see. The next step is indirect activity allocation. Now, indirect activity allocation is what? Let me just explain that. Okay, now indirect activity allocation, for which we will have cost center quality control. Receiving cost center will be 101, 2, and 3. Tested items. Now, this is basically indirect activity. Now, what is indirect activity? You are counting for QA. Tested items, which can be in any industry. Let's assume it's pharma industry, producing funnels for research. Okay. Now, those have to be done based on counting, and counting takes some time. So based on counting, for example, 101 has to count 300 items, or it has reported 300 items. So 300 items will take around 2 hours, assuming 1002, 200 items, but this testing will be different because this cost center might be checking for the density of the funnels, and this might take 4 hours. 1003, this is testing items and checking for durability. So this might take 6 hours. So your hours are billed, not the counted items. So the hours are billed, and it every cost center will have a separate rate of hours. Okay. So the cost centers uh, that will capture the FI postings will be from these account salaries and rent, okay, amounting to 72,000, and then we will have to settle these amounts. Okay, simple as that. So indirect activity, because you are counting, and then so next step is pretty much simple. That will be making of your cost center quality control. KS01 100901. Okay, now this will be quality control. gym, cost center category, we don't have quality over here. It can be service, cost center, or development. Allocation, no, it is service. Let's say it's service. It's giving a service. Okay. Hierarchy area, standard hierarchy. And of course, it will not have any cost center. And save. It gives a warning. Enter. It has been saved. Now, next step, of course, is making gank, maps, change groups. And over here, we will have to search for our kill actual inverse activity allocation, assign element to group. KSI 0, actual cost center split, assign element to group. The other one is, yes, KSII, actual price calculation. Okay, now what have we done basically? Let me tell you the process, because process understanding is necessary. KSII, actual price calculation. Now the prices that will be calculated based on the hours will use this transaction KSII. RKIL, actual inverse activity, because we are billing the hours based on counting. So that is inverse activity happening right now. Okay. And KSI 0, actual cost center spread, because these are actual cost, which will be split based on the numbers of the counting. That's why we will be using actual cost center split. Now, next step is KK01, which is statistical key figure, the metric, the measurement metric. Okay. Item. Right. Each. Okay. This will be each. Total values, save. Data was saved. Next step is making let me just change this. Testing counting items. FS00. VAPs, secondary cost. Okay, now we will copy this GL account to, let's say, 26. Control data. Assessment, not assessment, but 43. Internal activity allocation. Save. Okay. Now this will be used using SKF testing items, and based on that, internal activity will be allocated. Now, since we have the metric, now what is a metric? Metric is a measurement yard, like inches, like centimeters, that is SKF. But what will it measure? It will measure activity. Okay. So for activity, we need activity type. Okay. Activity type will be TSHRM. Testing hours, manual. Manual. Okay. Activity unit will be okay. Over here, we will find for H hour. Okay. SKF was testing items, and now we will relate it with hours. Okay. Get the logic? Okay. All cost center categories. All cost center categories. Now, activity type category will be indirect determination. Indirect allocation, because you're counting and determining assuming the number of hours. Okay. Allocation cost center will be the 43 category that we just made. Yeah. 1026. Price indicator. Plan price automatically based on activity. Plan price automatically based on activity. How much of the activity is done will become the planning price. Price indicator. Actual price indicator. Five. Actual price automatically based on activity. This was okay. Save. Activity type has been created. I'm going a little bit slow so that we can actually understand. Now, next step is FS00. Testing charges manual. Copy. Auto. Okay. AL01. Testing hours. A. Automatic. We can copy that. TSHRM. Hours star. Okay. Hours star. And this will be manual entry indirect allocation. Sorry. Okay. This will be 27 price indicator will be 1 and testing charges activity type has been created. Okay. Next step is KAH1. Now we are going to make a cost element group. Now, what is this cost element group? Overhead cost Okay, overhead cost. This overhead cost lower level, and over here we will have cost element groups 400, 500, same level 400, 600. Okay. Okay, great. Next step is KLH1. Activity types that we created, TSHRM, TSHRA, will be clubbed here. Okay. TSHRM, TSHRA. Okay. OKES. Now, this is basically the splitting structure which will define for creating split between the cost centers, okay, that we have done. So, we'll be using version. Now, for we'll create a new rule. Okay. Splitting, no splitting. Now, why do we need this splitting? Because we have to relate activity type with SKF. Okay. SKF, of course, is different from the hours because testing is based on automatic and manual hours. Some counting will be done automatically, some counting will be done automatically, and some manually. Okay. So we will be using new entries to define our own splitting structure. WAP1, and method. Okay, in this, if you see, let me see if you can see it. Okay, over here we have options, and the option by default is the method 21. All these have been defined by SAP, so we'll be going for equivalence number planning because equivalence numbers for each cost centers have been planned that cost center 1001 will count 300. Cost center 1002 will count 200. Cost center 1003 will count 220 based on their different service category of work. Okay. And some cost centers, of course, will have a different separate approach like activity quantity planning. Activity quantity means this can be direct counting that you're counting, and that counting can be planned. That counting can be recorded as activity. Okay. Output planning. This is again based on production, producing goods, or based on outputs. Bad goods will be removed and that will not be counted as part of that planning. Capacity planning for machines, for machinery that has a capacity to produce lubricant or textile, or for example, washing a textile or printing a textile, 300-meter textile, for example. So that is capacity planning. Okay. And that is basically for production cost centers. Okay. So 21 equivalence numbers, because we have given numbers to cost centers, and that will be used over here. Now the rules will be TC 101, 106. Oops. Okay. Now over here, we have to give selection rules. Okay. And for that, new entries, version 0. Okay. Version 0 is both, it caters uh, activity, planned activity, and actual activity. Okay. Save. I'll stop it over here. We'll continue from here. Okay. Let's stop here.